Let's start at the end. The 1750 is going to get the water pump rebuilt, and if you keep watching you can see what all I went through to do that, and then you can discover what I discovered, that there's something more going on. Keep watching and we'll find out. Hello everybody, it's Chris, and finally going to get around to doing the water pump here on the 1750. I got with ag parts first. You got my water pump kit, which is, you know, fairing, seal, gaskets. So before I film my untimely death from this loader falling on me, let's do something about that. There, all the safety Sams can feel good that they won't be watching me crushed to death on YouTube. I'll get the coolant draining, but I just remembered something looking at this. I think my coolant heater was not working. And it's not going to get any easier to replace it because I can pull that elbow right out of there once the water pumps out. So I'm going to plug it in and test it. See if it sizzles before I take the coolant out. Could just be the plug end. But if I get a new heater, it's probably going to come with a new cord anyways. Things are probably corroded and it's probably the problem. And I'm not getting electrocuted, but I'm not hearing that typical sizzly sound like a steak inside a metal box. Ooh, maybe we'll have steak tonight. Yeah, I'm feeling no heat at all. That should have been warming up by now. Well, I'll add that to my list of things I should do while it's apart. It's not going to get any easier. Oop, and now I'm pulling the cord apart, so yeah, it's getting a new one. I think it was time. Well, don't look terrible at the moment, but that first bit was a bit on the dirty side, so she'll definitely be getting fresh coolant. I'll probably run some straight water in it to flush it out before I put the final mix in, and make sure it's not leaking. Anybody feel like they gotta go to the bathroom now? Go ahead, I'll wait. I'll be right here.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Well, fan belts probably ought to be another thing for me to get. We'll get the fan off. Ouch. Even with gloves. This bleeder line off from here. This should go easy because even though I didn't film it, I changed the thermostat first, because the way this was doing is it like surge and overflow like the thermostat was sticking or something. Don't think that was the case. I think what's happening was I had the radiator cap loose, and so it wasn't building pressure. Then it could suck air in through the bleeder or the weep hole, and that's why they put these lines on here. I got that one tight. Okay, yeah. That was fresh off the charger, and that battery still acted up. So it is done. It is out of circulation. But as I was going to say, this little line, I'll just start over. So we're taking off this bleeder line. And what it does is if there's air in the water pump, it won't pump. It can pump liquids, but it can't pump air to the most part. But what was going on here, I finally figured out. First I thought it was a thermostat, and that's why that's easy to take off, because I've already had it off. I put a new thermostat on it. It would like all of a sudden open up and blow the radiator cap, Well, with the radiator cap being loose, of course that blew easy, but the other thing was there was no pressure in the system. And so instead of this water pump leaking coolant out, it was actually sucking air in. The air would go into the circuit for the hydropower cooler, which is also where the temperature sensor was, so the temperature wouldn't come up or all of a sudden drop off. And it was still circulating coolant everywhere else from what I could see. And then once it got warm enough, that thermostat would open, the air would push up through and kind of overfill it because of the displacement of air and everything, and make it blow out the radiator cap. And as long as I left the cap tight at first, of course, then it would, there was pressure, it would leak coolant out. But at first, before pressure built, it would suck some air in. I'd get air in that line going back to the hydropower. So if once it had warmed up some, I would loosen up this hose clamp and let the air out. Coolant would push through and I'd see bubbles until the coolant come out, and then retighten it down. And then after that, it was good as long as the thermostat stayed open and I kept the radiator cap tight, because there was pressure. I was leaking coolant out, but not profusely. So anyways, that's what I think is going on here. It's definitely leaking. First I had the nightmare that, I was getting compression in. Something just didn't seem right about that, because once the thermostat's open and the coolant's flowing right, no more bubbles, no more air. I can open it back up and check it and everything's going fine. I can leave the cap loose, but it will eventually suck more air in, but as long as it's tight. So I don't think that's the problem in this case. I'm really hoping not anyways. We'll find out before long. So I'm gonna leave the fan in there. I'll look for some new fan belts. These aren't terrible, but as long as we're in there, and loosen some hose clamps, and we're just about to take that water pump out already. Oh, good. It's one bolt that's turning. Seems like these water pump bolts, put the words in the right order, can get a little rusty because any seepage into the threads. It's 4 bolts, 2 on this side and 2 on the other. We'll be sure to put some anti-seize on those. All right, be good to me. Yes. Let's go to the other side. Okay, got this obvious one here that I'm probably gonna need both hands for. Go, baby, go. Come on. Six-point socket to the rescue. Come on. Don't. Oh man, that ain't good. All right, let's go get a 1/2-inch ratchet with a 6-point. All right, baby. That felt like a little bit of turn. Hopefully ain't a little bit of twist. Longer handle, or I can get out here and reach it better. That would help if it was turning the right way. I really don't like the feel of that. Let's go back the other way just a little bit. If there's any rust, might help break it. if you do snap off out where I can get something on you. Well, I'm glad I got the hay picked up before I started this project. Someone's probably yelling at their screen right now. Put some WD on it. That might reduce the friction out here at the end. That's about it. It ain't gonna work its way in there. That's sealed up too good. Okay. I should probably go eat lunch. It's pretty much that time. That way I don't have disappointment on my plate. That feels good. That does not. Well, it made my wish. At least it broke out where I can get the bolt thing off. But now whether I can slide the water pump off from that broken, or what is now a stud. There you are. In order to be able to do things. The radiator might be coming out before this is over. Probably the wall alternator will get out of the way. Well, it just got interesting. What did I mention about lunch? Let's try that fourth bolt. As long as we're here and, you know, crying. Every 2-hour job is one broken bolt away from a 2-day ordeal. Okay, now you don't... Come on, one of you has got to be kind to me. Well, 3 of you. That one's going to go all right. Of course, it had to be a long one. It's probably rusted in the whole barrel. Probably should have put some heat to it. If ifs and buts for candy and nuts, every day would be Christmas. All right. And I say that in the least enthusiastic version of all right. Well, it could have been worse, all right. Let's see if I can get that to slide forward. You know, it's probably gonna, oh yeah. That hose is getting replaced. That feels soft and squishy. Might as well just do them all. Nope, nope. Well, now that it doesn't have a head, I will put some penetrating oil in there, in the hopes that it will wick in there while I go eat my lunch. Well, hopefully, because it's not wanting to pop right off, yeah, it's just 4 bolts. Maybe, just maybe, the inside of that hole got crusted up and put a little heat to it and it'll slide off. But then the next thing is how many inches it has to slide off to get out of there without hitting the radiator. That could put a kink in things. Okay, got the bypass off, and here's where we stand. I got a screwdriver wedged in each side, trying to get close to the bottom to push as close to where that bolt goes through, and it's just hanging up. So that tells me it's the crud inside the water pump, which is hopefully good, that it's not stuck in the block. Now, It's been soaking while I was gone to lunch. Maybe if I pull the screwdrivers back out and try to twist it, you know, with the bolt, maybe that'll break that free, but probably have to put some heat to it. Yeah, I think I've already bent the bolt a little bit. So either the bolt is turning, or the water pump's turning on the bolt. It's gotta be one of those two. It may be turning the bolt, which is somewhat good because that means the bolt's turning into black instead of the, which means it'll eventually come out. Maybe if we put you guys in there, you can report back. Okay, after reviewing the video, the call on the play is the bolt is turning into black, but not the water pump. So probably the better of the two options. The biggest thing is getting the water pump to slide on a bolt. So I guess we're up to putting some heat to it. Start with that. Come on, baby. Knowing that the threads are loose in the block, it's almost be better if it did break off. I don't know. Don't want to tempt fate. Find out I was wrong. Yeah, she's starting to glow. That's usually when things go better. Can only really heat it from one side is part of the problem. Something's all sizzly. Hey, I think we have some success. Well, hopefully you saw that. A bolt definitely turning. Now the easy thing would probably be get a pair of pliers and turn the bolt out down in there. Hot. Hot. Everything's hot for some reason. There it goes. Okay, we're pretty much kissing the radiator. Let me go get those pliers. Channel locks might be better. Let's pull that back a little so it ain't hot. Touching the radiator and causing a new problem. She's a turning. Well, I should have heated that spot on the water pump while it still had a bolt head, but it could have been much worse. Any day now. She's probably hot. There it goes. Success. Okay, now it should come out like that and hopefully not burn my hand. There's the bolt. At least it broke off in a good way. I'll take that win. I can see from the screws this water pump has been rebuilt before. I guess that should not be a surprise. The tractor is what, a 67? It's older than me. Ow. All right, rather than wreck everything, we're gonna warm her up a little. One more. You know, I guess the price difference between a kit and a complete water pump, if you have to hire someone to do it, you're probably just as far ahead to, if you don't have the tools or the expertise to rebuild the water pump, probably as far ahead to get the complete one. Shoot, didn't even have to whack that. All right, all that heat, boom, off she comes. Hot. The other, look at that. I baked it off. Well, we'll let her cool a little bit and go press things apart. Just measuring the depth of the shaft and the pulley so I get it back in the same spot. People have noticed this press in videos, and one of our former mechanics, Chris, stopped by recently, and he was telling me he was told that this press was bought. There was a woolen mill in Eaton Rapids, which is not terribly far away, and apparently that's where this press comes from. It is a K.R. Wilson from Buffalo, New York. Need to get the snap ring on the top here. Oh, and of course, no, I guess that's just dirt. Let's say it broke. Because I don't think the kit came with a new snap ring. It came with everything else. No, it did break. There's part of it. Well, we might have to go hunting for snap rings. Because now I got nothing to pull against. Well, I got it out. Oh, yeah. We'll have to find something. Although I don't think it would come out. Do we really want to play that game? I think this bearing works good for a support. Let's double check. Yeah, the new one goes through. This, oh yeah, it's about set up. But it is a PTO shaft bearing, of all things. But it does a nice job of supporting the housing while I'm pressing it out. And if I damage a bad bearing, well, I think no one's gonna cry. Ooh, there she went. Well, let's see what's left of the seal before we push it the rest of the way out. Not a lot. Not a lot. Peller looks good. But yeah, I think there should be a ceramic in there. I'd say the ceramic is gone. Probably somewhere in the block. And this was sealing enough against the, I don't know, one way or another. It was working somewhat, but not entirely. Let's get her out the rest of the way. I'm gonna run out of bolt. There it is. Ping. Yeah. That's a different kind of seal. That's interesting. I'm not sure what's going on there, other than it wasn't sealing. All right, let's get this baby cleaned up, and we can go back the other direction. Got my box of stamp rings out, and look at that. Maybe. There it goes. I do believe that's going to work. Sweet. Alright, the book or the instructions come with it. I feel like I may have missed part of this step, or maybe not entirely read the instructions the first time. We put the seal in. I put a little Permatex on the other side, and then they give dimensions for this driver tool, which my friend Mike machined up for me for a previous water pump, and now I need a beater. You need this tool because it also supports when you drive the or press the shaft through the bearing shaft assembly. It can try to rip that out, and so this supports this floating part of the seal from doing exactly that. Then it says put the impeller on and measure the distance to that it sits up, which is 0. If it sat up, if it was pushing against that seal, the seal now seals against the shaft. Used to be there was a ceramic with a rubber part, and the rubber faced this to seal here, and then the ceramic part pushed against a hard plasticky rubbery seal face here, and that's where the sealing, the turning part of the seal happened, was where the ceramic met that other seal. But now it looks like it's all done in there, and I don't have to do any machining. I just need to press it all together. Why don't they make that dimensions for that tool, or yeah, where it's tall enough to stick out? Can't have it all, I suppose. This will get it. That little tool both supports the housing and loads the seal at the right pressure, so when the shaft comes through, it can squeeze through without destroying anything. Well, that one's fitting nice. Well, let's see if that's enough to get the snap ring in. Let's put it on the snap ring pliers first. Don't think that's quite in the groove. The seal looks fine. Let's try that. Don't need to break anything. I think I heard that snap ring go tink and pop in. Yeah, it looks like it did. Yeah, it's in. Excellent. Now we can put the impeller in. Special tool. I want to get it down to where it's almost touching, but not quite. Touchy, touchy bad. I'm just turning it, that way I know nothing's binding let off the pressure and let it square up just a little bit. But definitely don't want it sticking up where it's going to rub the back cover. Just barely in a couple of spots. It'll all polish up. It's liquid lubricated. Liquicated. Now to get the pulley back on where that needs to go, we want to support the shaft. So I take a 1/2-inch bolt and put it there. And I might have to lower the deck. I think I'm gonna have to lower the deck. And I left my pulley way over on that table. Or I can put a thinner block in there. Make sure my bolt hits the hole. There it is. Make sure it's on the bar. Slide out here. Get this bad boy centered up. And press. Let's let that square up a little. What I do with my measurer. About another 1/2 inch. She's close, but almost. Try that. Skosh more. I think that's good. You can see the seal. Well, I can. Maybe if I turn so the light. I know. If some of that shines down in there. It's in there. That should be good. We can put the back cover back on, and I will probably wait to put that back on the tractor until I got that block heater, because that lower pipe thing is going to be easier to install without the water pump. Or actually, I think it's going to be easier to slip the water pump into that than try to squeeze that in once the water pump's in. I'm not saying that would be impossible, just saying easier. And I like easier. Guess I kind of forgot to hit the record button. Put the gaskets in there. Well, that's all rebuilt. I just got to wait for fan belts and a coolant heater to come in, and then we can finish her up. Oop, wrong side. Best price I could find on one of these was on eBay. Free shipping, that makes a difference. There's a little bit of crud in there. There. It's a little better. This isn't a hydraulic fitting. We don't have to tighten it into next week. I think I'll put a little dielectric grease on the contacts just to help prevent corrosion down the road. Okay, I gotta get on the right side of the bracket. I've got this heater cord facing the middle. I might want to tighten that up a little and clock it towards the back. It should be all right there. Chased all the holes for the water pump, but looks like I better bring something over here and clean up that face just a little bit. Got the gasket off, but we'll get her a little cleaner. Well, right, wrong, or otherwise, I've gotten where I'll take and put a thin coat of the aviation Permatex. Not only does it help them seal all up, doesn't seem, so far I haven't had any issues with it, so try at your own risk, but it's kind of slick at first, so it helps with making the hoses go on easier. Let's face that in. And 2 more hose clamps. Let's see, belts. If I face them out like that, are they gonna be hitting belts? I think if it's facing more like so, I can get to them fairly easy, but they won't, the tighteners won't be in the way of the belts. So we are up to mounting pump, or at least setting it in there. We'll also have to get the bypass hose on. So until all everything's situated, I'm not going to tighten up hose clamps. That'll give me wiggle room to get stuff on. I've got the water pump fan, the fan. I had it out for a little while. It doesn't like to fit once the pump is in, so let's set that there. And maybe I need to slide the fan over the other way. Heaven forbid I remember how the heck I did it last week. Going the other way. Oh yeah, the sound of fan hitting fan. Okay, hose clamp, you're hindering things. And I'm bending fins. That's just not a good thing. Nice, nice, always nice. Turn this into a radiator job before I'm done. You might not see much at all because camera's kind of in the way. There, she slips in. There we go. One more hose. The bypass hose. Does this have a direction? I can't remember. More like so. Yeah, and then twist it up. Let's switch this up here. So we can get shadows from another direction. All right, we need some hose clamps before we get too carried away. It is started. Now all we need to do is fish a gasket in there. I've cleaned up the bolts and put anti-seize on them, so hopefully we don't have the same issue again. I feel like I should have fit this water pump gasket before I stuffed it in there, because it does not look right. Let's see. Extra hole in the corner there that just doesn't matter. I guess it's gonna work. It doesn't have the bar going down between the two sections, but on this, it doesn't matter. That part over there is the old bypass section. Before they had an external hose for the thermostat bypass during warm-up, they had it come down through the head and back through here, and so you would need that gasket to separate the two off. It's just an open dummy area. They didn't change the casting after they went to the external bypass hose, and so it really shouldn't affect anything. Let's see, so that one is a somewhat long somewhat long bolt. Now I just gotta find the hole. There's one. Well, I know this is the right water pump because it's the same one that came off. I guess if she leaks juice, I can complain about how I should have held that up there. Well, after what I can safely call a struggle, I've got all 4 bolts in, gaskets in place. We can tighten up this water pump. There, if I screwed it up, it's got plenty of anti-seize to make it come apart easy. I think we're just tightening some hose clamps now. So we got room for the alternator belts and fan belts, and you know, there's one for each, right? For them to get by. And then, is there enough? No, not for that screwdriver. Hey, I just bought a new nut driver. Mine went missing years ago. I've held out hope that it was going to show up again, and finally gave up hope and bought a new one. And decided, well, if the old one turns up, see if I can feel the rib from the, I think I need to move that clamp down a little bit. But as I was saying, before I distracted myself, if the old one turns up, I've got 2 of them. At least I got one now. 5/16 nut driver is just a handy thing to have, especially when it comes to hose clamps. But a bunch of these are old school original clamps. All right, I'll get the rest of them tightened up. We don't need to watch me tighten hose clamps. We don't want to go halfway. We want to go all the way. 158 615A, that's the upper radiator hose. I already had one on hand for the 1855 project, so I'll just use it for this and get another one coming for the 1855. Because they are the same. As I say, I had it off. I put a thermostat in first, because you know, well, that cost about as much as a water pump kit, actually. This ain't terrible, but we might throw it on the could bail me out in an emergency pile. Because, you know, don't have enough of that stuff around. They are all new hoses that just need tightened up. We'll do that and bring you back. That just leaves. Is this the right direction? Or is this the right direction? This appears righter. Just this is a bleeder line. Get it down to where the nut wants to turn. And then we can put coolant in it and look for leaks. Well, actually, I'm going to put straight water in it because I want to flush it out some. It's already empty. I was going to put new coolant in it. So, some fresh water to flush through there and kind of stir everything up, drain that, and then put my coolant in. Plus check for leaks before I get too carried away. Snug her with a line wrench, just because it gets a better grip on that stuff. Okay, I think we're ready to put water in it and see what all comes out. Well, I think it's up at least to the water pump, because it reminded me I hadn't closed the drain at the back of the block. Could have come over the top, but so far so good. Oh, sounds like she's starting to get full. Let's go with that. Let's see, nothing dripping out at the water pump. That's a good start. Not seeing any drips at the hoses. Another good start. I think we can keep going. I actually had a couple extra brand new fan belts around. So I was gonna rob the ones from the 1855, but got enough for those, that too. Let's get some fan belts on, and then we can put the fan on. Can do it the other way, but this way is easier. Alternator, fan. And I think she'll be ready to fire up and try. Oh, a little tip. Let's see. If you want to order a pair, last I knew they're still good. Part number 162071AV. That gets you a pair of belts. Individually, though, they are a 157680 AV. AGCO added the V on for their vintage line. So originally they were 157680A, and the -9, who knows what the heck that means. And they'll be on the belts. So if you, for some reason, can't or only need one, but if you can't find a pair, I don't know. But part numbers, stuff help. I feel like the words should go around. Let's see, it goes that way. So, if you're gonna be detail oriented, OCD, whatever you want to call it, might as well do it all the way. Oh no, they're not lined up. Fan belt timing is important. Okay, let's stick an alternator in there. And all that mix. Well, that looks pretty good. I think we got her index right. That should keep things from getting out of balance. Now I need to find a wrench. I don't know if I mentioned, but I did put anti-seize on that bolt for the adjuster arm, because I've seen them get corroded into the water pump and snap off. I think we're just down to putting the fan on. I think it's ready to try out. I'm going to leave the sheet metal off and probably power wash it before I put the metal back on. But we'll give her a little run and flush things out first. But everything's looking good. I'm just picking up the last of the tools. See if the loader's settled just a skosh. All right, moment of truth. Before, temperature would start coming up, and then the water pump would suck enough air in that the temperature would go back down, because the circuit going to the hydropower, which also has the sending unit, would have air in it. So I guess if it keeps climbing up and circulating right and not leaking out of the water pump, we've probably got her whipped. Let's give her a try. Go take a look. No water coming out, nothing flinging around. clumps of dirt coming out every now and then. Oh no, my belts aren't in time anymore. They'll probably need retention. They had some kinks in them from sitting folded up so long. Too much water in it, or it does have compression leak. Let's hope not. Crap. Yeah, I had it over full, or had it full right to the top. Oops. Well, I can tell it's flowing through the cooler, hydropower cooler. I think I just had that filled right up to the neck. I think there might have been some trapped air too. It's gurgling just a little. I hope that's all it is, because I don't want the alternative. Oh, she's of course it was full. I mean, there's no bubbles. Like if it was a blown head gasket, cracked head, cracked sleeve, or something like that, it's clear. I think it's just a matter of being over full and expanding. There's a bubble. There's some bubbles. There's trouble. Well, I got it up to temperature. Got the hose going in the top of the radiator slow, and then got this drain cock open to kind of adding clean water and flushing out old stuff, stir things up. It's getting clearer. It's a slow process, but it's getting clearer. I don't know, but I got a bad feeling. See once it's all, that's still good and hot. Still acts like it's getting compression into it, but only until the thermostat opens. But being fresh filled, maybe that was the problem. I guess, I don't know, I'm not holding out much hope at this point. Might be needing a head gasket. Hopefully that's all. It's weird. The good news is the water pump is staying dry. So I got at least that much fixed. It's looking pretty clear now. Take it for a spin. So here's where it's at. We're back to the end, which was the beginning. I've replaced every single coolant hose, anything where it could suck air in. Water pump is not leaking at all, which it was before. It needed rebuilt, there's no doubt about that. But I still get air in the system. I've got a test coming. Should be here tomorrow, which will probably be instantly, to test the what I've got in there for exhaust gases. And then from there, I guess I got to make up my mind what I'm going to do, whether I want to tear into it right away or wait until third cutting's done. Then I won't need the loader really for the rest of the year. If it sits in the shop for a while, that's no big deal. I could always use a skid steer to get hay out of the field. Just adds an extra step for me. So, before we know it, I will be testing that coolant and we will have a better answer. But it's going to be one I don't like. I can just guarantee it. And I might as well start looking through my parts and see what I've got for head gasket and other stuff. It could be a simple head gasket. Could be cracked head, could be cracked sleeves. It isn't much, so I'd like to hope that it's just a head gasket fire ring blown and pushing into the one of the coolant ports. I'm not getting water into the oil at all from what I can see, so I don't think that's it's a one-way thing by the looks. So that kind of, I don't think that'd be a cracked sleeve, because when it was off, you shut it off and the system's pressurized, that would push coolant back in through the crack in the sleeve, and I'd get some coolant pan. So I'm leaning towards a head gasket. The coolant testing kit that tests for exhaust gases is here. You got to warm the engine up, so then get the thermostat open. So if you're getting bubbles in, they got to get past the thermostat. So that's what I'm doing now, warming that up so I can have my last few seconds of denial here before I find out what's really going on. Remember, denial is more than just a river in Egypt. I pretty much know the answer because I've eliminated just about everything else, but what the heck. For a $40 test kit that I can use multiple times, I'll give it a whirl. Alright. Here's how this little lab experiment goes. Gotta have the tractor running, thermostat open, so any gases, we don't want coolant, we just want to suck gases off. We fill this up to that line. Whoop. Put this cap on, and then we got this bulb, metal side goes up, and then what we do is it pulls the air out of the radiator through it, and if there's exhaust gases in there, that blue stuff turns yellow. All right, I gotta leave it running, so you'll just have to hear me try to listen to me over the sound of an engine, a perfectly fine running engine. Okay. Survey says that interesting. I'm gonna try it a little more. Then I'm going to do what someone online said. It basically sucks some exhaust gas in, and that should turn it yellow. Just to verify I'm doing it right. I can see bubbles are coming in. So some kind of pressure is building in there, and I guess, you know, it's a hot radiator. I guess this is good news, other than I gotta figure out how the heck air is getting into the system. That bottom part is rubber. So I'm holding it in there to keep it sealed. You can see there's a few bubbles coming through. But she's not turning. I can feel the neck is hot. It's definitely circulating. It seems like it's a little bit lighter shade of blue, but it ain't yellow by any means. It's getting kind of greenish. I think we're starting to pick some up. It ain't a drastic leak, but it's a leak. Plus there was, you know, regular air in there before I put this on and sealed it up, I assume. I don't know how well we can see down in there with the camera. It's just water at this point. Probably ain't gonna bubble up as much as antifreeze would, but I'm just not like seeing bubbles. That's definitely gotten a green tinge to it, not dark blue like it was when it went in there. Crazy. It's definitely changed color a little bit. Let's see if we can get some exhaust gas. See if it'll turn yellow the rest of the way. It works. It didn't take it but a moment to turn yellow when I put it right in the exhaust flow. Well, let's try one more time. Okay, I double checked the instructions. I'm supposed to pump the bulb for a minute. Color me confused. It says if it turns yellowish green, that for a diesel that could be a sign of compression in or exhaust gases in the cooling system. That was over a minute. It got a little bit of a green color to it. It's just weird. It fills up with air when it's first going until the thermostat opens up, then it seems to be fine. I'm thinking I'm gonna have to lean towards head gasket at this point because every hose has been replaced. We saw what happened when you put it right in the exhaust stream. It turns a nice bright yellow. So I'm not getting loads. Here's my next experiment. I got some clear PVC hose, 5/8 ID. I should have made this loop a little longer because it's wanting to kink. And that might be something I have to let it cool down the rest of the way so the thermostat closes, but See if there's any bubbles circulating. Definitely bubbles. Could have been some air in there from when I switched the hoses too, but it also seems like it'd be working its way out. What's the water temperature at? Almost up to the end. Hopefully it hasn't gotten so much air the water pump is, you know, airlocked. Radiator cap's off, so any pressure should be able to escape. But now all of a sudden this baby ain't looping. Ow, hot, hot. Hot, hot, hot. Those bubbles would work their way out of there eventually. So I'm going to say we're looking at some kind of head gasket. Weird that that test barely turned color, but it turned color, so I guess that's, you know, it's just funny how it gets so much air in it before the thermostat opens, and then once the thermostat is open, it seems to be fine. Hopefully it's just a head gasket. It runs good, it starts good, it holds good oil pressure. I'm not really looking to do another overhaul. I've got to think of it as a cracked sleeve. When the radiator cap was on, you shut the engine off, that pressure would push coolant in through that crack, and I'd be getting coolant in the oil pan. Could be a cracked head. I surely hope not. Well, we're definitely gonna get her fixed one way or another, because Dad bought this tractor new, I would say in '67, since that's the model year. He had it until about 1979, I think, is when he bought the 2105. And so he sold this. A gentleman farmer had it, and he took very good care of it, and he's the one that put the roll bar canopy, and I mean, he hired us to do it. He had us do all that kind of work. And but once the loader was on it, he felt it was just too big of a tractor with a loader. He did not like it anymore. So he traded it in, and of course we kept it. So the engine has not had any significant engine work done. I had the injection pump rebuilt 25 years ago. Put injectors in it when I did that. And I went through the hydropower and the clutch around the same time. So yeah, no engine work internal, you know, nothing like the head being pulled off or that kind of stuff since probably the 1970s. I was told by someone that they had to redo one of the lower O-ring lands on the block, had to sleeve that from corrosion. So it was rebuilt probably at that point, probably in the 1970s. And it's been going strong ever since. So I guess there's a lot of time on that head gasket. Let's just hope that's all it is. For now, my plans are I'm gonna get antifreeze back in it. Because I don't wanna, I think it's gonna be a winter project, maybe a fall project. But I want the loader for picking up round bales for third cutting. I think it'll suffice good enough for that. And then it's a quick attached loader, so I can take that off, get that out of my way, make it easier to work on. And won't need it again after third cutting until next year. I can manage without it. It sure is nice picking up round bales with it out of the field though. So, but I know if I don't put antifreeze in it, first you got the corrosion factor, but also I suddenly forget about it and it gets to be harvest time and I'm busy and the temperature suddenly drops and it freezes and breaks a bunch of stuff. So we're gonna put a couple gallons of antifreeze in there because that's cheaper than the alternative. And then put sheet metal back on and park it for now. And I guess you can plan on seeing the 1750 in the shop probably this winter, depending on how many other projects I get done or in my way. But if you have an idea what might be going on, I'd love to hear your opinion on it. Part of me thinks, okay, maybe that water pump housing's cracked and sucking air in. I didn't notice anything. That's about it. All the hoses have been replaced. It's obviously not back in the cooler on the hydropower because that is bypassed right now, not hooked up. It's just weird because, yeah, like I say, once that thermostat opens up, it seems to do all right. Anyways, talk to me in the comments. Love to hear it, and we'll go from there. And I appreciate everybody watching, and we will see you in the next one.